Hi guys, welcome back to Suero TV. I'm Lord Pakpata, your usual host. So today we have a guest again in our show, and a very inspiring one, and I hope you get inspired by this one. Today we have Dumi Lopang in the studio today to share his journey, life journey, entrepreneurship journey with us. Dumi is the Group Executive Director of YMH. So yeah, he's also a father, he's also a husband, an uncle, as well as a businessman. So we're going to talk about his life today. Welcome to the show, Dumi.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for gracing us.
No, it's an absolute pleasure and a privilege to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
All right. I know you have a very busy schedule, so we're very, very, very honored to have you here today. So, Dumi, I want us to get to know you better first. Who is Dumi, and where's Dumi from? Where did you school? Take us through your life journey a bit. Yeah.
Okay, so Dumi is short for Dumilano, which is a Kalanga name meaning agreement.
Yeah.
And my father says, basically, because I'm the firstborn, it was an agreement. I sealed the agreement between his family and my mom's family for them to come together. So
beautiful.
Both my parents are late. My father was from a small village called Changate, which is up north, about 27 km from Totome. And my late mom was from Zimbabwe, just across the border in a place called Dombodema, which is near Plumtree.
Yeah.
So I was actually born in Zimbabwe, in Plumtree. And my father went to school in Zimbabwe and he was working in Zimbabwe, met my mother.
Yeah.
And like I said, I was born in Zimbabwe. So I spent the first 6 months of my life in Zimbabwe. And then my dad decided to come back to Botswana and he settled in Silibe, Phikwe. So Phikwe is really
what
I consider home, because from 6 months, that's
you
where
grew up. Yeah.
That's where we grew up. Yeah, and I went to primary school there. I'm the firstborn, like I said, with two younger siblings. My brother is late. Unfortunately, he came after me, Dinai, and then I've got a younger sister, Lobo, as well. So we all grew up in Phikwe. We went to Kopano Primary School, and then for Form 1, I went to Zimbabwe. I went to a Catholic school called St. Patrick's Christian Brothers College in Bulawayo.
Yeah.
And I was there from 1989 to 1994, so from 1 up to my A-levels. And then after that, I went to University of Cape Town to do a BCom from 1995 until 1997.
Yeah.
And then I went back to Phikwe to work.
Yes.
Before for a year.
Where did you work?
I worked, so what happened was I had a very good friend of mine called AJ Chatley, and the dad used to work for the mine and then got into business. And what happened is during the school holidays, he would work, they had a filling station and they sold spare parts initially. And every holiday he'd be working there, so I'd go and stand and hang with him and whilst he's on the till. And the dad said, but you're spending half of your day here. You might as well work and make money.
Yeah.
So from Form 1, every school holiday, I'd work for this Indian businessman. And his businesses grew. So like I said, it was a filling station. Then he had supermarkets, then wholesale, and et cetera, et cetera. So in Form 4, after we got our O-level results, obviously, so he asked us, oh, how did you do? The son had done well, and I'd done well as well. And he then said, oh, wow, listen, man, can I sponsor you for A-levels and then university, and then you can come and help your friend in the business, So basically, he then paid for my A-levels and then for university. And so in 1998, when I came, it was to work now for his...
Yeah, for him,
for him.
As a thank you, in a way.
No, well, I had a bond, if you like. I could have just
it's a bond.
Yes, or that for 3 years, I had to work for him for 3 years for the sponsorship. And I didn't finish my degree. So I only did 2 of my 3 years because I repeated a year whilst I was in varsity. So when I came back, I actually came back without a degree. And he was like, it's okay.
The Indian man said it's okay?
Yeah, you've learned
something.
You've learned something, but the real learning is on the ground, on the job.
True.
And he says, since Form 1, you've worked in our businesses, so you know the business as well.
Yeah, you've gone through the corridors of varsity too.
Yeah. So I came back and whilst I was at university, I had actually done a business proposal to something called FAP. FAP was the predecessor to CEDA.
Yeah.
And they used to give grants. So I remember when I came the one holiday from varsity, he said to me, let's put what you're studying to practice and put together a business plan for a bakery. There was only one bakery in Phikwe then.
Yeah.
And I did. And once I was in varsity, he called me and said, hey, your business thing was approved. So when I came back, he said, yeah, now this thing has just started. I want you to implement all those wonderful things that you put in your business case.
Plan. Yeah.
So I came back and I ran Britannica Bakery for some time. And it was interesting because I used to wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning
to bake,
to go pick up guys so that we can get to the bakery at 4. Bake so that the first fresh bread is out by 7 o'clock because he owned a spa, so that you can have fresh bread in spa at 7 o'clock. You see. So that was my routine. Wake up 3 o'clock, go pick up these guys.
Yeah.
Then I'd knock off at about 4 in the afternoon.
Yeah.
So I'd do like a 12-hour shift.
Yeah. I mean, that was teaching you entrepreneurship.
Absolutely.
Basically.
Absolutely. So most people are first generation business people.
Yeah.
Most Botswana, and I believe you find that those who had parents who were in business, you find that the business did not go from generation to generation. So you'll find that here, I hear stories of, this guy's dad used to own this or this guy's dad. And you wonder, so then what happened? How come the children?
Yeah.
And I think it's because the children are not brought into
the business. Yeah.
Because I think the best way of learning is being inside when you observe, So I truly believe working every holiday from Form 1.
Yeah.
And he put me in different businesses. He had something called Southern Fried Chicken back then.
I remember Southern Fried Chicken. And was that not a franchise? It was a franchise.
It was a franchise, So I worked in there as well. So I worked in different types of businesses over there. So from a young age, I learned how to, the difference between revenue and profit. How to mark up margin and all these things, So I truly believe that I learned entrepreneurship, not from a textbook in varsity or whatever, but really by observing and working for this business.
You're blessed, actually. No, I mean, that was a total blessing.
Absolutely. Whilst my friends would be out playing and doing crazy things, I'd be at work, but that was God's plan to really sort of like open my eyes and expose me to
So basically,
business.
this is where you got your entrepreneurial spirit.
Absolutely.
Through this.
Absolutely.
So we should actually start with our kids, young, involve them in whatever we're doing. So now take us through, now you were doing the bakery, then how did you now get out of Phikwe to get here, end up being Yarona FM, YMH? Let's take us through that journey,
So, like I said, in Form 1, I start working for this. So this bug bites me, entrepreneurship. And then whilst I was in Zimbabwe, I was, I think 18 high schools, all the high schools, used to send 2 representatives to the Bulawayo Junior City Council. And then when you were there, so it would be 36 of you, you'd campaign to be mayor, mayoress, town clerk. So I was town clerk.
Wow.
I was the Bulawayo Junior Town Clerk. And one of my responsibilities as the town clerk was to organize, we always had an annual variety show at the City Hall. And we would fundraise and we would then do a marquee donation to some charity. So I put that together as, So that's when I fell in love with entertainment. So I did that when I was in Form 4. And then in lower 6, we decided to do a show in my hometown, Phikwe, and we brought Otis Fraser, who I'd met in Bulawayo when we were doing the variety show. And that's when, like I said, this whole entertainment thing took off. Then when I got to UCT in 1995, remember, this is just after freedom.
Yeah.
So all the previously white, the brands that you would call white brands, Levi jeans or whatever, they were now targeting this new, free, young black guys and whatever. And they were wanted to get into the universities. And there used to be a show on Metro FM called Levi Gem Tracks, presented by a guy called Quincy Kekana.
Yeah.
And these guys would say, man, they had this radio show that they sponsored these Levi jeans, but they wanted to really get into the black market. And
that was the strategy.
yeah, and I can't remember for the life of me how we met. Oh, their headquarters were in Cape Town, and we bumped into the marketing manager, a guy called Manalisa.
Yeah.
And we told him, listen, we've got an idea. Let's start doing these campus activations.
Yeah. At UCT. So you're one of those as well.
Yeah. And that's how it started. We started, you know, and then I met, so I've known Oskido since 1995, because we then did events with Boom Shaka and whatever.
Yeah, you had to hire them to come and perform.
Yeah, to come and perform, and it was really to expose, like I said, these young free black students to these brands. So we did that with even like Smirnoff, these alcoholic brands, etc.
So that's where it started.
That's where it started. So I do that. We set up, we had a company there. We did well. You know, it was myself.
In SA?
In SA, Mwatudi Lekaukau and the late Matata Kasenelu, you know. That we even made enough money to buy a car. So we had a car in varsity. And so we do all of that, and then I go back, and so this is the reason why I didn't get my degree.
Yeah. You're busy.
I was busy running a business. My two partners were smart. They would go for lectures and whatever. I said, my mentality was that you come to varsity to study so that you can get a job and make money. So we are making money already.
Yeah, why are we still?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which was, I'm not saying that's good advice.
Yes.
Get your degree, get whatever, so that you always have this something in backup, you know.
And also it just teaches you structure
and teaches the discipline. I always think back that going for tutorials, managing your own time to study for exams, it's an important discipline that you can use in life, you know. So that's why I say go through varsity. Not necessarily because you'll be the smartest guy, you're guaranteed a job, but that discipline of managing your time.
That's exactly what it does.
It's an invaluable lesson for life, you know. Yeah. So, you know, when I go back to Phikwe and I worked there for a year, I then get a call from Pesi Radikadi. Pesi Radikadi had been at UCT with us. And he had seen, he knew that we had set up this company. So he says to me, Dumi, listen, we've just been awarded a license, first private radio station. And I saw what you and Woma Tweedy but
did that side,
but primarily because you are the one running with the business. And I saw what you did, you know, being able to convince all these different brands to come on board and these activations. I think you're the right guy to be a sales and marketing manager to sell radio, which although yes, there was RB2 at the time, but in terms of private commercial radio, there was none. And so that's how I then went to, like I said, he was my employer, but he was more like my father, because he was my he was my friend's dad before he became my boss. So I'd always just known Mr.
Is that
Chatley.
how old Pesi is?
Yeah, no, not Pesi.
Oh, you mean the old guy? Yes.
The Indian businessman. He was more like a father to me. That number.
You,
So when I went to him and I said, Pesi, I've been given an opportunity to go and be sales and marketing manager in Gaborone. His attitude was like, wow. Remember I told you that I had a 3-year bond, but his attitude was like, oh wow, great. You can't miss out on such an opportunity.
Yeah.
Let's just work out a plan. How much will you be able to pay? Because I've broken my bond. So will you be able to pay? I said, I don't know, maybe 1,000. He said, okay, pay me 1,000. But if it's tough any month, just let me know. Whatever.
Says the father.
So I came, then I moved to Gaborone in May of 1999. And at the time, I arrived, I think, 2 or 3 days before the actual license was given.
Of the radio.
Yeah, of the radio station.
You know, Dumi, we have to go for a break.
Yeah.
And I will have to hear the story. Guys, we'll be right back and hear the story of Yarona FM and how it came to life. All right, welcome back, guys. We have Dumi Lopang in the studio today. He's telling us about his journey, and right now he was just telling us about Yarona FM and how it came to life. Yes, Dumi, please. 1999.
So
the
I arrived,
license.
I arrived, I think, I started work, I think maybe on the 4th of May, 99. And then about a week later, Yarona FM and Gebs FM were actually given their licenses. So at that time, I found Moraki Mokhosana, he was the station manager.
Yeah.
And Mike Proctor, he was the programs manager. And once we were given our license, we started a test broadcast. And it was in a room in the Grand Palm Hotel. So we got a little, I think it was a 100 watt transmitter.
Yeah.
And we started transmitting, but just playing music.
That's how it started.
Yeah, we just played music for until we went on air. So from May until August 22nd when we went live on air, we used to just play music. And but the feedback from people, and we were just testing the market to see what type of music, whatever.
Oh, so you hadn't decided that you're a youth radio?
No. So in the application, you had to specify. So we knew we were a youth radio. But remember, there's gospel, there's reggae, raga, there's R&B, hip-hop, kwaito. To sort of get an idea of how to format the station, to say, do we go predominantly R&B? Do we go predominantly kwaito at the time, which was big, or rap or hip-hop? We use this time just to test the market and get feedback on what people
how the market is responding.
Is responding, And then we found a house on Kaunda Road.
Yes, I remember the old.
The red hot building.
Yeah, we were still young. We were the youth then. We were your target market then.
Yeah, so we then converted that house into our first studios. And we went live on air on the 22nd of August 99.
Did you have a radio that you were benchmarking with? Because we felt like at the time we felt like there was a YFM influence to it. Were you benchmarking?
Yeah, so what had happened is that where the original shareholders of Yarona FM was a consortium called Copacabana, which was made up of young Botswana. Most of them were like Botswana employees, And then they had the majority shareholding. Then the minority shareholder was a company called Mopani Media. Mopani Media are the same guys who started YFM. So even the whole Yarona,
we could feel it. We saw it. We felt the.
So although by the time we went on air, Mopani Media had been bought over by a new company called Union Alliance Media, but we continued. So that's where I would go for. I went for my training and all of that at YFM. DJ Fresh was a shareholder as well at the time, and I remember he would give us these DAT tapes with music, all the latest music. And then when his Fresh House flavors started coming out.
So Fresh was a shareholder of Yarona FM as well at the time.
Yarona FM, yes, when he was working there.
Yeah. So you were just a station manager at the time?
No, I wasn't. Remember, I came as sales and marketing manager.
Sales and marketing,
Moraki was the station manager.
Yeah.
Mike Proctor was the programs manager. But by the time we went on air in August, Moraki and Mike had left. Pesi Raditadi had now. He was working for Botswana at the time when he had applied and whatever. So he came in now to run the station.
Oh, okay. So you were going for training for?
As sales and marketing, manager. Just to understand how do you package shows,
radios,
rate card and all of that.
Okay. So what I'm picking from this, Dumi, from your journey, things were falling on your lap. Did you not? I don't know. I don't know if you're realizing this. Like literally, it's like there's an anointing to this. Like things are just falling on your lap. There's somebody sponsoring your school.
So I always say this. I get invited by many people. Say, come and give us a talk on the 10 steps of how to be a successful business person, or the 5 things that make people. And I always say, I can't give you those. And they say, no, come on, you must come and share. And I say, because I truly believe that I am where I am by God's grace. It's like you say, so many things happened which are out of my control, where I truly believe it was just God's grace. But the one thing, you can ask anyone, I work extremely hard. I work long hours.
Too.
So the blessing is there. But to honor that blessing, you must then put in the work.
And so that it keeps...
Absolutely.
So you keep it, because if you don't keep working, it goes, isn't it? You're going to lose
I
it.
told you that I worked 12-hour days in the bakery, remember?
Yeah, you had
So
that
when
discipline.
so when Yarona FM started and you're working 8-hour days, for me that's a joke. I mean, I'm used to working 12 hours. So I'd come to work at 8 and leave at 8 at night.
Yeah.
But I enjoyed what I was doing. You know, we were pioneering first private radio station, etc.
You're making history.
Yeah. So I worked with Percy from 99 until December 2002, where he then left to join the corporate world. He went to join KBL. And I became acting station manager. And then in May of 2003, the position was advertised, I applied, and then I was made station manager in 2003. But all this time, remember, I'm just an employee. I'm
Still, that's what I'm,
I'm still just an employee. And yeah, so one of the things is that when we came in 99, we brought Robbie Rob. Because we
can never forget him.
Yeah, he was at UCT with us. He had actually trained me at UCT radio because he was already on and he had a show, and I wanted to get onto radio. So I went through training with Robbie Rob. So when we opened the station, we were like, man, Robin, what are you doing? He was like, no, I'm still waiting to see whether I'll go to YFM or I'll do what. And I said, come to Botswana for a short while. Help us, we're launching a new thing. And it was that he was meant to come for a short while. And yeah, he's still here. He's still here to this day, you know. So, and then I brought in Owen from Gabs FM.
Owen Rampa?
Yes, because he was at Gabs FM. I brought him on, and he was my programs manager. I worked with David Mepeng. I mean, I really worked with brilliant
David,
guys. And we built the station. And then in 2006, the then majority shareholder had a few difficulties. And I then put together a consortium of guys. Primarily Mwakludi, Matata, guys I'd been in business with, remember, in South Africa, already were in varsity. And we then brought in a few other people. And we then bought the majority stake.
That's
how I then became a shareholder. In 2006. And then in 2007, the national licenses were awarded, and Dumi FM came on board as well. And for the first time, and for me this was such a big thing because growing up in Phikwe there was no RB2.
Was there no RB2 there?
No.
It was only RB1 reaching there.
RB2 only was open for 1 hour. I think between 12 and 1.
The cool registration
and it was only on a Monday, and it was Owen Rampa who was on. It was the Lovers Plus something show.
Yes, I remember Lovers Plus shows.
So when we finally went national in 2007, it was such an amazing thing because although RB2 had gone national in 2001, but it was just an amazing thing that I was just thinking, what if I had been a kid? I would have loved to have listened to a Yarona FM. So when we did go national and we went around the country.
Absolutely. That's a way to view to actually think, what would you have liked as the kids? So that's the business concept.
So we then went around the country, launched the station in 2007. And a lot of our presenters were from the South. They'd never been beyond debate.
Why? Why were you getting the presenters from the South? Was there a strategy there?
No, it wasn't. It just so happened that because you're based in Gaborone at the time, it's only Gaborone people. Remember, we're just a regional broadcaster. The people who are listening to you are in Gaborone. So because we are only here, it just so happened that our presenters primarily were from here. I mean, it's only later on that you had a few guys like O'Neill who came from Phikwe.
You knew him from Phikwe.
No, funny enough, I didn't, because he's much younger than me. My brother and them knew him. But I didn't know him. But
it's just a coincidence that it was
just a coincidence that he came. And then we got some other guys, and then there was
Loose Boy.
There was a story that now I've started hiring people from
Phikwe. What did it look like? It would be what's his name again? The other presenter, is it? I forget his name, but the one who's also from Phikwe.
But it was just a coincidence, Boni.
Yes.
Yes,
it was just a coincidence.
But it was just amazing though that when we did this national tour, all the guys from the South had never been like up north. So it was an eye opener for them, and I did that on purpose because I was saying, you can't be talking on air and you have listeners in Maung and you don't know Maung.
You don't know them.
Because the thing about radio, when you speak on radio, you don't speak to people, you speak to an individual. So when you sit there and you're in a talk break, when you talk, you envision that you're having a discussion with Lorato, not to Lorato and. So it's nice then if I want to connect you with you and I say, hey, Lorato, kana Botswana haspa mo main molo mo Phikwe walking to distance or whatever, and it's hot, whatever. Then you as a listener can also connect.
So you're not talking at them. You're talking.
So the only way to do that was to take these guys around the country, so that even when they're on air, they can talk about Blue Jacket Square in Francis Town. Hey,
smart.
Mabukachini, you know, a bit of Kalanga, you know, etc. So for us, those early years, after we went national, we really tried. We even had reporters stationed at different places, and we put aside an hour in the afternoon for community reporting, so that people also get to hear their own stories. So if you're in Phikwe or you're in Mahum or Francistown, we used to have people who remember Shingirai Madondo.
Yes, you remember Shingirai Madondo. Was that strategic as well?
Absolutely, because he was based in Francistown, so he would give news that is relevant to the Francistowners.
Basically down there. But the thing is, you know, this is a brilliant marketing concept. That's a brilliant marketing concept.
So I mean, I think that's what really took the Yarona FM brand to from where it was, I think, to the level that we built it to.
But you know, Dumi, I must say that I should just mention the Zimbabwean way of teaching, and you guys had being a clerk, being a city clerk, a junior city clerk. Was that a strategy? I mean, that was one of the ways that you were built to be a leader. You know, and that is very amazing. When I
got to UCT, I was also in I stayed in a res called Leo Marquardt Hall. And it is 400 students. And there was like a house committee, which is like a sort of SRC for that res. And you had to campaign and whatever. And I was a minister in the as well, you know. So like you said, these things in terms of leadership and whatever.
You think leaders are born? I wanted to come back to that because I wanted to just mention what you mentioned in Zim, obviously mentioned in UCT, as well as what happened to you in Phikwe in terms of this gentleman. But do you think leaders are born or are made? What's your opinion on this one?
I think good leaders are born. And then what happens is that with time, even if you're a good leader, you need to continue to grow and brush up.
You're refined,
I think you can make a leader, but it's very rare that a made leader becomes a great leader.
If you're not born, I
think the great leaders are the guys who are just born with this. You have
assertiveness,
this thing,
bravery.
You know what else I just think? One thing, when you're passionate about helping other people and taking people along with you on a journey. Because for me, that's what leadership is. Leadership is where you have a vision of something that you envision, and then you say, guys, we are as strong as our weakest link. So then
this is where we're going.
This is where we're going, and those who sort of are struggling to keep up, you go and you take them along with you on the journey. And because they believe in the vision and they can see it, and you've really explained it to them, and you lead by example, then it becomes easy. I think as a leader, then it becomes easy because they see that this is authentic. You walk the talk, you know. So from a young age, so I was in primary school, I was a prefect at CBC. I was the deputy head boy, you know.
Because of the leadership qualities you've shown.
It just comes natural, you know, that when you're with a group of guys, whether it's sports or whatever, you say, come guys, let's give it, let's push. Or I come and I encourage. If I see somebody's on the rugby field or whatever, because I played rugby, is having a bad day, I'm the one guy, I don't say, come on, man, focus. I come to him and say, hey, brother, don't worry, it's there. So that ability to motivate and encourage, it just comes naturally. So when other people are watching, naturally they'll say, when they say we need somebody to lead, people say, do me.
Because they know.
I won't even put my head up to say, no, I want to lead. People will say, do me, and it's because I just have that thing in me. I like helping people along, and
you just want to take them with you, guys. Let's go.
Yeah,
So Yarona FM, Dumi, now you obviously diversified into other businesses. So
Yes.
how did you I think where we paused with it, that you were the general manager
Yes.
of the radio station, and you ended up actually forming another group with your
Yes.
other guys, and you bought
Yeah,
the
she's
majority
into- Yes.
shareholding now. How did you now have to leave from general manager to now full ownership and then other ownership of business?
Okay.
I want you to take us through that after the break. Thank you so much, Jimmy, for being here. Guys, we are going to be right back, and he tells us about that story. Hi guys, welcome back. We are having Dumi Lopang in the studio today. He's taking us through his life journey and entrepreneurship journey, and how he actually ended up becoming an entrepreneur of note. We call him the shark, by the way. In the streets, we call you the shark of business and the mogul of entertainment business. So, Dumi, like I was just mentioned before the break, that now you are the owner of you're now a shareholder in majority shareholder on Yarona FM. Now you're owning other businesses, but you're still a general manager. I want us now to take us through now. Or okay, you're now the owner, at the same time you're also general manager. How did now the shift that happening to now the radio station running itself?
Okay,
Yeah.
so we become shareholders, like I said, I think it's 2006, 7.
Yeah.
But I'm still running the radio station. And then, because of the size of our market, I
Yeah.
realized that soon we're going to probably hit the ceiling in terms of how far we can go as a business.
Yeah.
So I started looking at opportunities to diversify. And then the easiest thing was to look within media, to say, okay, we are in radio broadcasting, there's print media where you can get it, there's outdoor advertising, and there's all of that. And then I said, but unfortunately, today things are a bit better, but then access to data was a big problem there. So I couldn't easily just go somewhere and say, okay, advertising spend in Botswana is 100 million. Of that, radio takes 10%. The largest share, 50%, goes to print. Outdoor takes 25%. That information wasn't there. Because I wanted to use that to determine which sector we should diversify into. So we said, well, who knows what's going on in terms of media and whatever. And it was advertising agencies, because advertising agencies plus whatever.
Yeah, they're in it already.
And at the time, one of our partners in our radio station, who was also my business partner, was Matata Kasenel. And he was running Horizon Ogilvy.
Yeah, I remember,
at the time. So our first...
And that's an advertising agency.
yes.
Yeah.
So our first business that we bought into was Horizon Ogilvy. It was easy because Matata, like I said, was running the business, so he facilitated that. We bought into that. And once we were in there, we were then able to see where clients are spending most of their money. And we picked up that there's a big trend towards PR and public mail. So we opened up a PR company called Intergrate.
Yeah.
I brought a guy called Ndaba, Nkomo, who used to work for Hotwire to run that. And then we saw that a lot of money is being spent with out-of-home advertising or billboard advertising.
Yeah.
So we set up an outdoor company called YMH Outdoor. That was all in 2011. So we bought Horizon in 2010. And at that stage, because we had now done this acquisition of Horizon and we're now setting up all these, I then realized that I won't be able to start and grow these other businesses and give them direction because I'm still running Yarona FM. So at the end of 2010, I left the Yarona FM.
Yeah.
And Owen became the next station manager.
Yeah.
And then we had formed a company. It was called the Yarona Media Holdings, but people kept on calling it Yarona FM Media Holdings. And we didn't want that because we wanted to make sure that the station is distinct from the holding company.
Yeah.
So I went basically to set up the media holding company, which is the one that had shares in Horizon, that agency, and
Yarona
YMH
FM.
Outdoor, Yarona FM, and Intergrate.
Yeah.
And then You won't believe it. In 2012, I then said, I think we should start looking for opportunities for especially radio outside of Botswana.
Yeah.
And there was an ad agency called Marketing Communications, and it was owned by a gentleman called Tom Whitney.
Is this in Botswana?
Yes, in Botswana. And the son used to go to Westwood. And these youngsters, used to just love to come and hang around at Yarona FM.
Yeah, they still do.
So Tom Whitney's son was friends with a guy called Limbani. Limbani's mom was the United Nations representative to Botswana.
Yeah.
But they were from Malawi. So when Limbani's mom's contract ended, she went back to Malawi and became a member of parliament. And one day at an end of year Christmas party, for members of parliament, whatever, Limbani's there with his mom. And a gentleman who was the private secretary to the president at the time mentions how he's just been given a TV license and a radio license in Malawi. And Limbani says to him, listen, if you say you've got a thing, have you started? He says, no. He says, if you want to set up a radio station and you want to target youth, there's this station in Botswana, man.
To benchmark with, yeah.
Man, to benchmark with. So Limbani calls me. He says, I don't know whether you remember. I said, I remember. He says, yeah, listen, there's a gentleman here. He's just been given a license. He wants to start a youth radio station. And I've said he should benchmark with you guys. He'll call you. So he calls me. I'm like, okay, no, cool. He says, would you guys be willing to even buy a stake and partner with me? I said, why not? So we flew to Malawi to go and just check out and see. But the only thing was that at the time, like I said, he was still the private secretary to the president. And I really didn't want him to go into business with somebody who's still
in politics.
Yeah. So we said to him, and he said, no, but I've got another 6 months and I'll be going out into it. So I said, no, call us, but we see the potential. Came back. Whilst we were waiting, I get a call. This is now beginning 2013. I get a call from a gentleman called John Phikwe. John Phikwe used to work for an outdoor company based in South Africa, but he would come to Botswana sometimes, and he would come to visit Matata Gasenele. And I remember the one year they invited us to go and watch a rugby game in South Africa, and that's how I knew John. But he called me. So last time I'd seen him, maybe it was 6 years when he called me in 2013. He says, Dumi, listen, are you still in radio? I'm like, yes, I am. He's like, there's a radio station being sold in Zambia, and I just thought of you.
But I need to say this. I need to note this, and I want us to note it. First, you thought about diversifying into Africa, into actually not Botswana, just outside Botswana.
Yes.
Did you share this idea with God, and then everything came to you? How does this happen? Did you start talking to people? Guys, I'm looking, or it just came to you? What,
you know what's funny?
I want us to share the magic there.
So I got married in 2005.
Yeah.
When I was going through my marital counseling, we got married in South Africa with my wife's pastor. She asked me, what is your vision and what's your dream?
Yeah.
And I said, I want to be a Pan-African businessman in telco. Not media. Funny if I didn't say media, I just said telco. Because I had a small little telco company, called eTel. And she said it's important, why we discussed this whilst we are doing marriage counseling, is because it's important for your wife to understand your vision right now. Before
she buys into this.
Yeah, she buys into this thing. Because when this thing manifests and you are now traveling all over the continent, she mustn't say, but my husband is never here. Where are you? You've told her up front so she knows exactly what. So when you speak about, did you tell this to anyone? Did you tell God? I always had this vision. And like I said, when we're doing our marital counseling with the pastor, she asked me this thing. And you told her. And I told her and I spoke it out into them. From my lips
to God.
To God's ears.
God's ears.
So, but when we, with my partners, when we did talk about diversifying into the continent, we all agreed that, it makes sense, you know. But how we would do it, there was no strategy that I'm going to attend conferences or I'm going to do what, or I'll just go on.
I'll talk to
missions.
this person. No.
I just said that, and then there was the call from Limbani where we went to Malawi, which was then followed by the call from John. And I got on the plane with my one partner, went to Zambia, and we met this gentleman, Errol Hickey. He funny enough, owned the first private radio station in Zambia. And he said, no, I've reached a retirement age now. I want to give this up. And yeah, and
are you still there in Zambia? What's the name of the radio station?
Radio Phoenix. Although we've rebranded it to Phoenix FM, but it's the original name was Radio Phoenix. And we sealed the deal June of 2013. I then took Owen. Remember, Owen was at Yarona FM from 2011 when I left.
Yeah.
I then took Owen and I said, Owen, he went and spent 6 months.
In Zambia?
I said, let's just study the market. This is a new market. We don't know it. We don't want to come with any presumptions. And this is where a lot of people struggle. And a lot of business, you go outside of your market. And I've seen this with a lot of South African companies who go into Africa. And you come with a I know it all mentality.
Yes, I'm coming with a South African.
And then you come into a place, you don't understand the sort of nuances of that
the
market,
culture.
the culture and whatever. So I said before 1st January 2014 was when our management contract was going to kick in. We became shareholders and we had the management contract to run the station. But I said we're going to spend 6 months studying the competition, trying to get an understanding of Zambian culture, redoing our formatting of our programming.
Yeah.
So by the time we started implementing on the 1st of January 2014, we had 6 months of intel where we had gotten quite a good understanding of the Zambian market.
So how did you do the good understanding of the market? Did you actually go in the same way that you did here? Because in Botswana, you're like, guys, you can't talk to people you don't know. Did you do more or less the same thing?
Yeah, it was, so you speak to advertisers, you speak to other radio owners, you go to ad agencies, you speak to just ordinary people. And you find out, because the station broadcasts in about 5 provinces. So you move around to the different provinces. You found that, we are dominant in Lusaka, the capital. Copper Belt, we are not as dominant. Why are we not as dominant in the copper? So it was just really that very simple dipstick research, raw on the ground, getting first-hand feedback.
Basically you're given the opportunity, you dive in. You don't dive in head in first.
You
go and actually meet them, assess the market, and then you actually then take over from there. Dumi, we are about to come to the end of our show, but we have so much. I hope we can have you back and actually share more of your journey. But now you've formed this group, because now it's like a group of businesses. And I would just want to get to know you a little more now. What are your weaknesses as a leader? If you were to say, this is my weakness as a leader.
I don't like admin.
Is that a weakness? Or you just know, this is not my area?
No, it's a weakness. Administration is important because at a certain stage, it's paperwork and making sure that the paperwork is done and it's filed and it's put in the records.
Even if somebody does it for you, you need to be able to overlook it.
Yes. I don't. And another thing, another weakness, I don't like reading. You know, there are people who are gifted and they're like, oh, no, I read so much. And they just...
You don't like reading? And you don't read? Or you force yourself to read?
I force myself to read.
Because you don't have a choice.
And reading, I don't talk, I'm not reading like for board packs. I do that, obviously. I need to read board packs.
You talk about like taking a book.
I'm not a big reader. I'm a visual person. I like watching. So I watch a few, so I love politics.
That's my another question.
So I watch a lot of news channels. And I love sport, but generally I'd rather go and hear a talk. I'd rather go to a TED talk or go than reading, someone's book on how
you'd rather hear him talk. Is that what you're saying than having to read the story? So
I'd rather go and sit and listen to a Bill Gates, whoever, and Elon Musk talking, rather than getting his book and sitting, because to find that only times that I'm able to read well is when I'm on flights.
Yes, I would.
So
that's the only time you get the time.
And so so I do read, but usually it's when I was traveling a lot. Like before COVID, I would travel. I spend every month. In the beginning, I used to spend 2 weeks in a month in Zambia when we were building the station. And then after that, once the station had stabilized and we had I'd infused my DNA in there, I started going every single 1 week and every single month I go to Zambia,
Yeah.
and that's about to start again. So in that flight, when the direct flight stopped and I'd have the 2 hours, that's when I found that I was able to read. Just because I was sitting there, then I am able to
You're
read.
actually able to focus on, you don't have anything else to do, basically.
Generally, I have no time. If between family and all the multiple businesses, I find that for me to find time to sit down and say, I'm going to read a book. And
It's because you don't have the time. What about if you actually listen to audio?
if I maybe an audio book, which I can put in my car,
Yes.
but then it'll be interacted because my phone is always ringing.
Yeah.
And so then, So
okay.
it's really more that the time.
Yeah.
But when I do find time to read, I do enjoy. But books like Startup Nation, which tells the story of Israel and how Israel went from a desert to what it is today. So I like those
like
type of
even
books.
Dubai story.
Yeah. Books like that I really enjoy. Yeah.
Okay, so what are your shortcuts to successfully handle frustration and stress? I'm sure as a leader you get a lot of that, having to run all these businesses at the same time. What are your shortcuts to handling pressure?
I make sure that although sometimes it's counterproductive, but I make sure that I always give myself time just to unwind and chill. And most of the time it's in front of the screen, like I said, with sport.
Yeah.
Or even just I watch soapies.
You watch soapies with your wife?
Yeah. So I watch silly stuff. I watch
just
cooking
to
shows.
Get your mind off things.
Get my mind off things. And that helps me to de-stress.
Yeah. What time do you wake up?
5.
5. What's your morning routine like?
I wake up at 5 and then I'll either go for a run or I'll go go for a run and then come from a run and then I drop with the kids at school and then I come home and then I have a coffee, shower, and then
the day starts.
The day starts. Or the days that I don't run, that I go to the gym, I wake up, take the kids to school, then after dropping them at school, I go to the gym, get a coffee, sit down a bit, get ready, and then
get into the
day. And then I leave the office usually around between 7 and 8 every day.
All right. Thank you so much for coming today, Dumi. I'm hoping we can have a second episode because now I didn't want us to be too long so that we can talk about now. Okay, Zambia, what else is there? Because I think there's more that you're doing that you would like to tap into. But thank you so much for inspiring. The show is about inspiring the Botswana or whoever entrepreneur is out there watching such an inspirational story. Thank you.
Thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure. It's been great fun.
It's been great fun talking about your life. Thank you guys for watching. I hope you're inspired by Dumi Lopang today. And let's hear for the next episode. Bye for now.